Okay, everyone. So here we are with the Viva Analog 360 Plus. It is a rack mount version of the classic Acoustic 360 preamp. Much like what the original design was, this head is purely a preamp. I am running into my Carvin BX series as a power amp. It is purely a power amp. And I guess the first thing I want to start off with is sort of what is not in this that was in the original Acoustic 360 head. And it's kind of stuff that didn't need to be included. One of the things that the original Acoustic 360 had, and keep in mind, that came out in the late 1960s. It had what was essentially a built-in theremin. They called it the electronic tuning fork. And the idea was, keep in mind, you got to put yourself in the mindset of the late 60s and early 70s. About the only really dead accurate tuner out there was the Conn Strobe series of tuners. And they were basically created for people tuning pianos and harps, instruments like that. And they were not inexpensive. I think they were like $300 or $400 back then, which in modern money is like $2,000, $2,500. So that's a lot of money to lay out for a piece of kit that isn't super roadworthy. So there really was a niche that was filled by the electronic tuning fork. Even by the time I was playing out with my Acoustic 360, we all had either, the small Sabine chromatic tuners or the rack mount chromatic Sabines. So it was completely superfluous. It was completely useless. I confess I liked it because you could do this whole insane Jimmy Page thing with it. You didn't have the antenna, but you could twist the knobs and pretend you were doing Song Remains the Same. Now you can get a theremin for like $90 on Amazon. So no harm, no foul taking that out. One difference with this rack unit versus the pedal version that Viva Analog produces is sort of the heart of this entire unit is the Variamp, which is it's essentially one of the earliest parametric equalizers. Now, on the original Acoustic 360, it was locked into essentially 5 distinct frequency bands. So essentially, this knob would click through 5 different sort of predetermined sweep ranges of frequency. And the pedal version of this still has that. This I like because you can actually move it across the whole spectrum. You're not locked into those 5, which gives you more fine tunability. And then you've got the Variamp itself, which lets you move, further or less as far as you want to enhance that particular effect on the tonal range of the instrument. One of the things I do like is the actual foot control mechanism that he included for the fuzz and for the mute is a soft touch. It does not have that giant snap and clack you sometimes get when hitting a pedal, which is nice. I think that's really, really a great feature. One thing that I liked about the old Acoustic 360, the vintage model, was that the front panel included 2 input jacks right here. And I like that because I could have a 4-string bass and a 5-string bass, or I could have a fretted and a fretless bass there, like all ready to go without switching anything. I even had a Nady duet wireless system, so I had 2 wireless systems going in, 1 for each bass. Now, keep in mind, this was designed back when rack systems were not what they became even, 10, 15 years later. So having a single instrument input in the back, it makes sense. It's easier to wire it into a traditional rack. It's just a little sort of peccadillo of my own that I prefer that. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to take this through 3 basses that I think are kind of broadly respective of what you would see people playing an Acoustic 360 through. The cabinet itself is a VX series Hartke cabinet that I picked up when, sadly, Sam Ash went out of business. I have disabled the tweeter on it because I don't want to sort of give a sense that this has more top end than a comparable vintage acoustic cabinet might. These are twin 15 paper cone Hartke speakers. They're not the aluminum ones. So I think it's pretty close. It's not identical to an 18-inch forward-firing Kerwin Vega cabinet, but I think it gets us most of the way there. And the first bass we're going to do is I have a Parts Caster P bass. This is The first instrument I'll run through, it's got flat wounds. It's got a passive EMG P-bass pickup. It's built off of a PV P-bass clone with a Mighty Mite neck. The second bass we're going to run it through is a PJ design, because by the time the Acoustic 360 is really becoming kind of the only alternative to the Ampeg SVT as a high-powered bass amp, you're getting a lot more PJ designed instruments. You're getting studio musicians and live players who have routed the body out near the bridge and put a jazz pickup in there. And the final instrument is going to be a fairly stock jazz bass, 2 passive EMG jazz pickups in it. It looks a little weird because it's a graphite fretboard and an aluminum neck, but as far as the tone out of it, it's very, 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 it's very much a standard jazz bass. And we'll go through each of these. We'll hit them with a pick. We'll do some muted stuff, and we'll run it into the fuzz. So let's start off. First up, we're going to go with my Partscaster P-Bass. And I am running the pickup wide open on this. Also, the tone control is rolled off. And we're just going to run through this first off through the clean channel. And I'll play with the Variamp a little bit. Currently, I have the Variamp set essentially at noon, and the effect knob set will go for about 3 o'clock, just to give you a sense of it. Volume, treble, and bass are all set at noon. Switch up. It's got a little bright top end enhancement. Give a little more cut and a little more bite to the flat wounds. And let's do the brightness. We'll keep the brightness engaged, and we'll do some muted picking. Straight ahead picking. And over to the fuzz. Take the brightness off to kind of cut the sharpness out of that a little. Okay, that is a flat wound P-bass, passive EMG pickup. We're going to move over to the PJ bass, which, as I mentioned, this is basically the import version of the Michael Anthony signature bass. This doesn't have the chili peppers as the fret markers, but they're red. And this is all passive. It's a PJ design. We're going to run this, like I said, straight through. We're going to do bright on, bright off. We'll do picks, we'll do fingers, we'll do muted picking, and we'll do some thumb slapping with this one. the brightness off so we can get rid of some of that string noise that we get there. Hit it with a pick. Muted pick. And over to the fuzz. And I backed off the brightness on that one because you do get a lot of string noise playing fingerstyle with a fuzz. We'll do a little bit more. We'll turn the brightness back on and we'll do some thumb slapping, and then we'll move on to the final bass. You can hear the brightness really kick in. Okay. We're going to switch over to the last bass, which, like I said, it looks a little unusual, but it's really kind of a straight-ahead jazz bass. These are two passive EMG pickups, so it's pretty stock. The only difference is the neck. It's an aluminum neck with a graphite fingerboard. On this one, I'm going to take the Variamp really down low. We're going to take the range of the Variamp, which I've had pretty much middle of the road here, and I'm going to drop it as pretty much as low as it can go. And I'm going to enhance the Variamp effect. So we're going basically like, I don't know, 7 o'clock and 4 o'clock to really kind of give you a sense of what we've got here. And we're going to start off with the brightness off. And like everything else, we're going to do pick, thumb slap, muted pick, and just give you a sense of what we've got. to clean, and we'll do some slap. We'll kick the brightness up. And one of the things I wanted to point out is, like I said, one of the big criticisms of acoustic was that the 360 lacked a lot of top end. You're getting a pretty decent amount out of this, even with the Variamp dialed down to kind of its lower range. So I think you got more top end out of these than people might expect, but it definitely was kind of a bone-rattling, kind of jarring bass tone with that single 18. So, you know... So, there you have it. I think this is a good piece of gear, or kit, depending on what part of the world you're in. I know a lot of people prefer these as pedals. The issue with the Acoustic 360 that I think really, it hung on for a long time, and Acoustic Control Corporation hung on for a long time, but these were really expensive amps. These were actually noticeably more expensive than the Ampeg SVT series when they came out. So you're talking about an amp that in modern terms, I think they cost like $2,000 in 1970. So you're talking about what would be like an $8,000 or $9,000 rig, which is why you saw people like Jacko play them, John Paul Jones, Phil Lynott from Thin Lizzy, people who had good paying musician gigs kind of had these, and a lot of studios had them as well. If you really like the Acoustic 360 like I did, I think this is definitely worth considering as a purchase. If you're not really looking for that tone, I think you can get away with any number of modern amps, although this Carvin amp is not produced anymore, sadly. This has a built-in sort of two-range parametric EQ. It has parametric level 1, parametric level 2, so it's a low mid, a high mid, and then a frequency sweep within each of those. And really, that was what I was focusing mainly on with the Variamp. That's the range that I think the parametric equalizer is most useful. So modern amps can do a very good job of this, in all honesty. And you incorporate a graphic equalizer into the package like this does, where you can turn the graphic EQ off and on. You know, it's a lot more versatile, and I think that's important. I'm not a big fan of fuzz bass. I do think this fuzz unit is actually quite good. I think it's got a really nice tone. It's very close to the classic Big Muff bass fuzz. I had one of those and I sold it because I thought I really don't need it. This does all of it. So, submitted for your consideration, the 360 Plus Viva Analog Rack Unit. I hope you found this interesting. I hope you found this enlightening. If you hated it, let me know why. Put it in the comments. If you liked it, let me know why. We're going to be doing a few other offbeat videos focusing on weird and obscure bass amps and bass guitars over the next few weeks. So I hope you will join me on the journey. I am BC, and this is BC's Off Bass Gear. Have a good day.